We might expect this car to be in the pits, but not on the flatbed. That is the 84 car of Bob Henderson, Todd Lamb. That is the reason we have been under a full course yellow. We should have a restart this time around. Eric Van Cleef now is your leader in car number 88. Now back there in the second position, car number 21, Randy Popes. And third now is Sylvain Tremblay in number 70, and Andy Pilgrim is fourth in car number 54. So by virtue of this lengthy yellow and the number of other cars making pit stops, both Sylvain and Andy moved up in track position without racing for it.
Right, everybody got in their fuel window. The yellow was long enough. Some of the slower cars will get better fuel mileage pitted, and that puts the race back on as we're about to go green. Oh, look at that.
Right away, look at this.
Yeah, that guy passed way before
that was Sylvain Tremblay.
That will not stick. That'll never work. He passed
goes by Randy Popes before he got to the start-finish line.
Why?
So Chuck, I think that number 88, Eric Van Cleef, is leading this thing. He took over for Craig Conway during that pit stop, but we have to question now if, in fact, that pass for second position will stand.
Well, you know what the bad news on that is? Usually the penalty for passing before the green is a stop-and-go penalty. And if that's the case, now that they've just gone green, if it happens right away, he will lose a ton on the racetrack positions.
If they're going to assess that penalty, they should assess it right away.
I'm sure they're talking about it, but it was so blatant and so wild that everybody's like going, did you see, did that really happen? You know, it's, I guarantee it's added some confusion to the lives of the stewards.
A little bumper tag there, the battle for third position. Randy Popes in that orange and blue Mustang, and he is right behind car 54. That is Andy Pilgrim. You can see that gap that has developed now between second and third. This is a good battle for third position.
Well, you know what could have happened on the start there? We didn't get to see the starter flag guy, which is around that corner. He might have gone green, and in fact, it could have been that he was looking far enough ahead, saw the green, and got a good jump on that start. We couldn't see the starter, so we can't call that.
Back on board with Andy Pilgrim. There's the big gravel trap off that left-hander. Slide there on the part of Randy. Randy uses all the racetrack and then some over the alligator stripes there, over the bumps. You can see that gap that has developed between second and third. And now, as Andy has gotten around, or as Randy has gotten around Andy, he starts to pull out on the front straightaway.
Good speed down here in
fourth,
turn
looking
one.
at third.
Oh, look at the Mustang. You see the thing jump around in the front suspension there as it hit the bump.
Oh, and here's a spin. The leader has spun in turn one.
Eric Van Cleef puts the Toyota around. Now he's got to re-enter the track in a very dangerous area. Watch here. Oh.
Hang on. Very uncharacteristic for Eric Van Cleef. He is leading the race and spins out. That will give the lead to the 70 car. Watch Van Cleef regain composure and regain some rhythm. But your leader now will be the number 70 of Sylvain Tremblay. He led the first 24 laps of this event, made that fuel stop, did not take on tires, did not change drivers. He is back in front. Number 21 car battling back and forth with the 54 is now in second. So Randy Popes is second, and third now is Andy Pilgrim.
Sylvain had the restart of the century, as we are told, looked ahead, did indeed see the green flag, and then on that start, it was a legal start, and he picked up that position well before the start finish.
I have to wonder how close he was to that leader when the leader spun out. We were watching that great battle back there for third spot, watching the 21 car bounce around the first corner as the leader at the time, number 88, lost control and spun coming off turn one. So, Greg, do you have a reason why 88 went off course?
Well, it's a bit of an interesting development. They really didn't want to run the pace that Tremblay was running, so they were going to let him go. Heading into turn one, he missed the downshift, went down a gear too far, the back end snapped around on him, and he couldn't save it just that fast. So it was a quick spin, and he continued, but it could have been a costly one. They weren't even trying to race him.
They didn't want to run at that pace. Now he has to run harder to get back to where he was.
That could be a lack of concentration, you know, just trying to find an easy way to get out of the way and let the other guy pass. But what he means, what Greg means by going down an additional gear, he, instead of going from fourth to third or fifth to fourth, went down 2 gears. Of course, it locked the rear end of the Toyota up, sent the engine soaring on the RPM scale, and around it went just like pulling the handbrake up. And now he's really working hard to try to make up the position.
Well, he's now back in 8th position. So that spin off the track past him 7 positions. He's tucked in behind the 28 car, which is 7th overall and 2nd in the sports class. The 2 team cars, 81 and 28, riding in the 6th and 7th position, or 1 and 2 in class.
Look at this dicing around the brakes on this is for turn 6 here.
You know, when you talk about Dorsey braking concentration, that again can be a factor of weather, the heat.
It can, because, oh, look at the big slide by the BMW, big power slide off of turn 7 right there. It can. That heat, when it starts fatiguing you, when you start thinking, boy, am I hot, boy, do I wish I had a cold drink of water or something like that, you can break your concentration. It's all it takes, any little thing to deviate you from the job at hand can send you off the road and make a mistake like that.
Yeah, so we're talking about the heat and concentration. You're taking a look at the rundown in Grand Sport Division. There's 4 different classes running as one large race here, so these guys have to watch the rearview mirrors as well as out in front. This is very typical for sports car racing, where you'll see 2 or 3 or 4 classes combined for an afternoon event.
Of course, we're following Eric Van Cleef. He is inside of his helmet, giving himself quite a good scolding right now for the mistake he made. And of course, now he's got, like you said, instead of to pull over and to run an easier pace, now he's got to make up a lot of ground just to get back where he was.
Watching for the 43 car to come up, which will be your leader in touring, Joe Nonemaker.
There he is.
Bill Pate teaming up in the number 43 car. That is your lead car in the touring class.
You know, you see a lot of those Nonemakers in here. There's actually 3 of them racing. Father Joe in the 43 we're looking at. He's got a 26-year-old Will who's in the 42 team car, and a 19-year-old Wayne in the 49 car, all painted exactly like this one. So it's hard to tell which one's which. But this is, in fact, the lead car of Father Joe.
Well, Joe, of course, has 26 Subway franchises. We could use a Subway sandwich right now, couldn't we? Something cool to drink as we enjoy the Speedvision Cup. We bring it to you from Road Atlanta on a hot, humid Georgia afternoon. We welcome you back to a hot and humid Saturday afternoon here at Northern Georgia Road Atlanta. Gary Lee alongside Dorsey Schrader with Calvin Fish and Greg Creamer down in the pit area. You're looking at the number 6 car run away from you, Rick Dischauer. He's teaming with Steve Nowicki. They are leading in class right now. They are 24th overall. This is the team that won the last outing at Las Vegas. Steve Nowicki was also victorious in this car at Sebring, although Rick was not running with him. Rick won in his debut last outing. We've had that happen twice this season so far. Michael Clover also won in his debut back at Sebring, then came back and backed that up at Las Vegas. So once again, 4 classes. Compact class right now, 24th overall, but the lead in this division. There's the compact standings. Fox, you saw him slide off course earlier in the competition. He is now second. Take a look at the rest of the standings in the compact class. You have your Grand Sports cars, you have your sports, the touring, and of course the compact.
Of course, with all these yellows we've had, these compact cars now are in a situation where they can probably go the entire race on one stop, so it gives them quite a lot of advantage toward the overall outcome of this thing.
The guy in the cockpit saying, wow, I'd like to get out and get me something to drink, cool off here.
Yeah, that's the one good thing with the compacts. They get the good fuel mileage. So with those cautions, they can probably now not take. That's going to give them an overall position at the end that would be to their benefit, because not only do they get paid money for where they are in class, in the compact class, but they also get paid on their overall standings. Without the one pit stop to make, that the other guys will make, or 2 possibly, that's going to move them way up the ladder, and they'll like that at the end of the day.
I have to ask you, with the World Sports cars and the GT cars competing, there's a lot of rubber on the racetrack this weekend, but that's a different compound than we're seeing on these stock sports cars. Is that a problem?
Well, it can be. What you'll find sometimes on these street cars, if you watch the 28 car, it's running 8th overall right now, what'll happen is the street tires will start to pick up the discarded rubber from the racing car tires, and those things will get into big balls, and I've seen them get to the size of bigger than a softball, and of course, then they'll get stuck inside in the wheel well and beat around in there, and you'll think you'll have a flat tire and you won't have.
But does this also make the track slicker because of the mismatched tire compound?
It doesn't bother the street tires as much as it bothers if you have a different type of tire on the slicks, whether it might be like one brand versus another brand. Oh, No, but look at the big slide right there. The 28 car pinches the corner down to try to get a run on the BMW and almost spins the car doing it. Drag racing up the long straightaway. They're a mile from where they're going to have to stop. The BMW is looking to have this straight line speed needed into the box.
When we talk about the tires, these, of course, are the Toyo Proxys tires. All running on those DOT-approved street tires, the Toyo Proxys. Shave for competition, but of course the rain they can change. We're not going to have rain this afternoon, but we had a lot of rain yesterday, and they can change put on the actual street tire that will not be changed.
Yeah, that surprised me. The braking zone, we just watched right there. The BMW had the lead going in there and actually gave up the lead right there again. And I'm not surprised. I think it took him by surprise. He looked over thinking he had that cleared, and he didn't have. As we look at the overall leader, running away with this race right now.
Well, of course, that is Sylvain Tremblay. He won here 2 years ago with Joe Vardy, and that team is back together again this weekend. Vardy back there in the pit lane waiting for his driving stint, so he'll drive the last half of the race. Once again, your leader is Sylvain Tremblay. He has led now a total of 29 laps. We've had 5 different lead changes, and primarily those lead changes were not so much in competition on the racetrack, but during pit stops.
Yeah, during all those cautions, people coming in and getting the things done to their cars they needed to. Tremblay has been dominant the entire time. We talked about some teams putting a slower driver out first or a faster driver out first. But with Joe Vardy coming up,
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. These guys are both plenty fast.
Of course, as we said, this is the team that won here 2 years ago, but Tremblay was victorious at the season opening race at Sebring, teaming with Nick Ham. We're coming right back. Welcome back to the Sports Car Grand Prix of Road Atlanta. Today, our feature is the Speedvision Cup, brought to you by Porsche. We wish to remind you there is no substitute. And by Michelin, celebrating 100 years of innovation, because so much is riding on your tires. And with so much going on in the world of motorsports, don't forget Auto Week on Speedvision, Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Don't miss Auto Week. Once again on Monday evening, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on Speedvision. And right here, you ride with Andy Pilgrim, trying to go for 111 consecutive finishes in all kinds of sports car racing with all kinds of co-drivers. A most impressive statistic. We talk about that. That's that new stretch right there, that new runoff area.
Yeah, if he had done that last year, he'd have been out in the tool. He's actually been in the red Georgia clay and then into the very green colored tire wall that was right behind it.
Well, this is a battle for position. This is a battle for third as he closes in on Peter Tonelli. Tonelli is third, Andy Pilgrim is fourth, Eric Van Cleef is back to fifth.
Tonelli with no power steering. Of course, Jeff Altenberg getting out of that at the pit stop. Here comes Andy Pilgrim to the inside. Look, they split a little compact car guy says he's waving now. Thank you, don't hit me, you know. I didn't do anything. Look, they're pointing at each other. They're pointing at each other. That's a good rivalry right there. That wasn't the you're the #1 point. That was I see you over there point.
Now once again, here's that new section, 9 and 10. The runoff area to the right. As you documented earlier, you get out there, your race is over. You're stuck. Under the bridge, downhill to the pit entrance, off to your left. And there's the first turn. Very, very fast section of the racetrack.
Very fast, actually faster than before, because the bridge turn is no longer the bridge turn. It's just the bridge now. So you go straight through there, pick up speed. I'll tell you what, your arms ache on one of these cars when you don't have power steering. And when you have to fight somebody like what's going on right now, it's all the worse.
There used to be a bridge right here, a pedestrian bridge that was taken out outside turn 1.
Yeah, and that was actually, it used to not be a bridge, and then it was a bridge, and now it's not a bridge again. So it's back the way it used to be, which is to my liking.
You're confusing me.
Sorry about that.
There's the gap between third and fourth. As you can eyeball that gap now, the S's, as the BMW now has moved to third position. Peter Tonelli has moved back to fourth. Eric Van Cleef had spun off the racetrack while leading, dropped back to 8th position. He is back up to 5th. Up in front, Sylvain Tremblay continues to show the way. So once again, this could be his race this afternoon. They'll make one more pit stop. He'll turn that car over to Joe Vardy. Now about 2.8 seconds separating first and second. This battle right now for third is about 9 seconds behind your lead. So once again, if we watch that battle for third position, Sylvain Tremblay in the Mazda Turbo continues to show the way with that much time remaining here at the road at Atlanta. Caution on the racetrack for this right here. This is young Tony Massari, the 18-year-old, the youngest driver in the race. That is just outside turn 12, just past the pit entrance. And he has that BMW in the gravel trap. The leader is in and back out, but there has been a driver change. Joe Vardy is now on board car number 70. And just before this yellow, we had a battle heating up at the front of the pack with Vardy's team driver, Sylvain Tremblay, leading by just over a second. Randy Popes was back in second position. Greg, let's review that pit stop.
Just a bit of a follow-up. Remarkably, they didn't do tires again. That car is on the same set of Toyota tires that it started the race with. Vardy got in, and as they did the exchange, Tremblay said the car is magic. Just drive it. They topped it off, put the different driver, and they're away.
You know, Dorsey, as you had alluded to earlier, some teams have a very strong driver and a not so strong driver. When you put Vardy in the car and take Sylvain out, you lose nothing. I mean, here's a guy who's won 23 of these races. And here comes Andy Pilgrim. We'll see a driver change now. Andy Pilgrim comes in. Terry Borchello standing by to take over in the BMW. And Calvin, he's headed right at you.
Okay, the number 54 is coming in as we speak. Andy Pilgrim behind the wheel. Terry Borchello was very animated when they saw their car go off in the gravel. He wanted Andy to pit immediately. There was some consternation here between himself and team management. They've obviously waited for the pace car to go out there. Meanwhile, the number 70 pitted. Andy Pilgrim, the Englishman, jumps out. And it's going to be Terry Borchello going for their second victory in this class this year. Obviously very successful. His entry has proved to be very competitive. Doesn't seem to have quite the horsepower and straight line speed of some of the turbos, but very fast through the corners with two great drivers. They're looking good.
Well, Borchello has 3 victories to his credit, but Andy Pilgrim now has 19 wins, and there is Randy Popes, who's won 18 times in competition. And here's a bit of a trivia question for you. Who's the driver whose wife was his co-driver for a victory in this class?
Well, that could be Randy Popes
and
Linda Popes. You're looking at him right now. He was scored as our leader when he came in for this pit stop, so that lead has changed now once again. Of course, this wreck that caused this was a huge, huge moment as it happened coming out of 11 on the way down to 12. And some of the safety issues we've talked about here at Road Atlanta that weren't here last year, that would have been a catastrophic accident. Of course, the gravel trap gathered up the BMW and the driver walks away safely. So hats off to the guys that did the racetrack.
Of course, the number 70 car pitted under this caution to change drivers, so Joe Vardy goes back out, and now you're right with Terry Borchello. Andy Pilgrim had brought this car in for the driver change. Borchello and Pilgrim were victorious at Las Vegas in this car. That was back on April the 25th. After this race, they move on to Mosport Park for August the 8th, and back to Sebring for a 3-hour enduro on September 19th, and then return to Road Atlanta in October for a 3-hour event. And we would hope to come back here in October. It'll be a little cooler, a little easier on the drivers. As you can see, the pickup, or the wrecker, backs as close as it can to that gravel trap so he doesn't get stuck. So there is Tony Mazzari's BMW about to be pulled out, the kitty litter here at Road Atlanta.
The leader in the sports division, the number 81 BMW, is in. It's going to be Mike Fitzgerald, the local guy from here from Atlanta, trying to score back-to-back victories here at this track. From last year, he drove with Anthony Lazaro, sharing the car with Steve Pfeffer this year. They're leading, but the guys that are really giving them a close chase, that number 28 machine, we documented their problems yesterday. They've clawed their way back from the back of the field. They're now on the same lap. They're pitting right behind these guys. So there is really some inter-team rivalry between these two cars, so you can make the faster fuel stop, get the fuel in. There's now about 50 minutes to go in this race. They need a pretty good fuel load. Mike Fitzgerald is now behind the wheel. He's buckled in, waiting to just get the signal from the team that he's okay to go. Looks like they're just wrapping things up on the number 81 machine. They're a little further behind in the pit stop with the 28, but they should be closely out on the track behind them, and they're being held at the end of pit lane here, guys, just momentarily, so the 28 is going to be very close as they go back on track.
Well, Calvin, as you mentioned, the 81 car leading in class, when they made that pit stop, they were leading overall. They were actually the lead of this race. So there will be a good battle for bragging rights in that team, because the team cars will be battling for class honors here this afternoon. Now that will give the lead back to the 70 Mazda. So Joe Vardy, after that pit stop and driver's change, that car has cycled back to the top of the scoring monitor. Randy Popes would be in second, Terry Borchello in third.
surprised me somewhat that the 70 car is now on its third stop. Of course, Vardy at the wheel now, and has not taken on tires. It would make me a bit nervous. I've never driven on these particular type of tire, but I would be a little bit nervous, even if it was perfect when I got it. How long will it stay perfect with this much race left to go? Some 45 minutes or so left.
And with the time that it takes to make a driver change and top off the fuel, why not go ahead and change the tires?
Yeah, I mean, I would have said so, because it takes as long to fuel. It takes longer to put that fuel in than it does the tires. So
of course, it's easy for us to sit up here and second guess off the pit strategy. We don't have to actually do it on the racetrack, at least not when we're on the air here. So we remain under a full course yellow for an off-track excursion by the youngster Tony Masseri. We'll come back with more from Road Atlanta. Well, we welcome you back to Road Atlanta, but some very poor luck for Terry Borcheller in 54 as they made a pit stop for a splash of gas, but they got stuck in the pits.
Well, what happened here, guys, was they came in to check the fuel cap, and then they were kind of held there under a red flag while the rest of the field went by. Meanwhile, one of the crew members went over to check it, and as he turned it, Terry took off. And they have the actual fuel cap right now in their hands, so they're really mad right now as to why that happened. There's obviously some confusion in the communication here amongst the team. They went back to double check as he twisted it off, and obviously they got it in the hand right now, so the chances are Terry's going to have to make an additional pit stop.
Well, of course, he was held up in the pit lane, went all the way back to the back of the pack.
That was disastrous for Terry. Of course, there you see the gas spewing out, and they was obviously he's been black flagged, or he's been called in on the radio network by the corner workers for spewing that gas, and so they were called in to check for that, to see if the gas cap was on tight. In the meantime, they, I guess, decided to add a little fuel while they were there, did not get the gas cap back on, and now they're going to be black flagged again or have to stop on their own, and that's going to drop Terry all the way probably to dead last if they do, in fact, go green on this lap like they're supposed to.
How many times, Dorsey, have we talked about a race being won or lost in the pits? Here's a prime example.
Absolutely, prime example. And that was one of the things that you had to watch out for in these cars. That when you fill them all the way to the top on a hot day like this, the expansion and contraction in the fuel tank will actually add pressure, and it'll blow. It'll pressurize the tank, and it'll blow that fuel out the cap. And a smart, savvy corner man or a good crew guy will be over there in the ear of sports cars saying, no, everything's just fine. Don't worry about it. Just give it a lap. It'll be fine. And, of course, that didn't take place, and now we have a bit of a problem for Mr. Borcheller.
And that last shot of the pace car, you can see the lights are off on the pace car. So the next time by, we'll go back to racing. And the first two drivers right together on the racetrack. Number 1, that white number 70. And second is that orange and blue number 21. Randy Popes there rides in second. And there is Joe Vardy in number 70. Vardy, a winner here 2 years ago, 23 victories during his career. Randy Popes has won 18 times. And as we talk about wins, how about Dorsey Schrader seated next to me with 11 in this class?
Well, it's been a while since I won one of these, but I tell you, they are fun races as you look right now. Joe Vardy entering turn 1. You can tell he's in the car because look at the helmet. Barely sees over.
Look at this. Look at this. Randy goes by on the inside, a textbook pass in turn 1.
Sure enough did with that Mustang Cobra, the power getting down into turn 1. Vardy couldn't do much about it. We're getting into the twisty section right now as we enter the S's, which used to be the most photographic piece of real estate in North America as far as the racetrack goes. Beautiful, beautiful shot as we come down through there. Vardy off the pace a little.
You know, Dorsey, I have to wonder, and here's the 54 back in, Terry Borcheller. We'll get that fuel cap back on the car, but this will again cost him, Calvin.
Okay, well, the crew's going to work this time. It's back on, but obviously a valuable pit stop for these guys. The ironic thing is, when they checked it the first time, the fuel cap was tight, so there wasn't a problem.
Now there is. Oh, we've had the 12 off. That's up the top of the hill out of, no, it's actually in the S's. That's the 12. Oh, we've got 38. That's Mark Hines' car. That's live time right now. He's had a big spin. Very big spin, and we got the 07 stuck in the gravel trap outside of turn 1. This is going to bring out another caution.
That is the Norris Stanton car in touring class.
Oh, there's another car
everywhere on this racetrack on that restart.
There must be.
You know, I was about to ask the question when we went back to the pits and the 54 car stop. We documented that the 70 Mazda did not change tires. There was the first altercation in number 12, and this could have started everything. That's the Maldonado Herzog entry as they spin off course. Then somewhere behind that, we have more trouble on the racetrack. Now watch what happens.
Oh, they got together back there. That's what happened. These two cars were fighting for position. The 38 car has been tagged by the 71. It gets loose, has a big spin. That's in the straightaway between turn 5 and turn 6. Does the big Danny Sullivan 360 spin to win. If he catches a gear here, he can just go right on. And look behind, there was another one involved.
It was 07 spun off into the gravel trap.
Right, that was the 07. So these guys having fisticuffs out here towards the latter part of this race.
I was about to ask again, we documented the 70 Mazda did not change tires. We thought maybe that was a mistake. Now we're seeing it back in second place. If the 21 car changed tires, well, now he's coming in.
Yeah, 25
well,
is in
that's
now.
That's a team car. Yeah, it's a 25 car. So if the 21 car changed tires, that could be the advantage right there.
It could have been on that restart for sure that the tires didn't have the grip. The other thing is on the restart, we talked about the tire and the rubber that's down. If these guys hadn't scrubbed their tires in quite a while, they might not just have had a grip. And now look at the 21, not only is our leader, Randy Popes, was pulling away from Joe Vardy.
So we saw that textbook pass inside turn 1, just as you would teach a student in a driving class. So although that 70 car could have the horsepower advantage, it could be down on tire right now.
Well, it's not making much ground right now. Randy Popes had that perfect textbook start, took the lead, and has extended the lead every lap since. Of course, we've only gone a lap or two, and he's opened up about a 10-car length lead. And we're going to get a full course caution. Of course, that's going to be as a result of this car in the gravel trap down there on the outside of turn 6.
And that would give the 70 car a chance to cool off the tires, give them more to ride with in the latter stages of this race.
Now, Vardy, at this point, if he really feels that the car is suspect, if he doesn't like the way it is, if he was ever going to do something about it, this would be the ideal time. Come in there and get the tires or whatever, or at least talk about it. He might have just got jumped on the start. Who knows?
But is this a case where maybe the car felt fine to Tremblay, Vardy gets in and doesn't like the way it feels?
Well, that could be too. I mean, Tremblay was at the advantage of having run many, many laps in the green, had nice hot tires, and of course he switches over to Vardy. Vardy's been behind the pace car. Now the tires are cooled off, and they might have given up. That happens in the street tires sometimes. They'll be fine until they heat cycle away, until you get the heat out of them. You go back to a green, and they're cold, and they say, okay, that last stint, boys, that was it. I give up. I got nothing left. And I've had that happen before, too.
Well, the report from the pit lane is that Vardy is called back in, so the car still feels fine. So perhaps it was just a good ride, a good run into turn 1 that got the lead to Randy Popes in car number 21. We welcome you back to Road Atlanta. Don't forget, On Track, Tuesdays at 7:30 Eastern Time right here on Speedvision. We are getting set up for a real shootout here at Road Atlanta in the final 30 minutes of this 2-hour and 45-minute timed event. There is your leader, Randy Popes, just before this full course yellow. On a restart, he took the measure of Joe Vardy in the first turn in a slick pass on the inside. And so he runs 1. Vardy runs in second position. Third now is Peter Sachs in the 7 car, running without power steering this afternoon. And fourth position, Bill Black teaming with Joe Danaher. Joe's 55 years of age. Bill Black is 50. And they have had a great afternoon running from 36th starting position. They're 4th now overall. So they're all bunched up behind this safety car, but we'll go green this next time down through the front straightaway.
I would suspect that Joe Vardy is just a little bit raw over that last start thing, because he either got caught out or caught unaware as it went green. Randy Popes just put it to him and took the lead. Look here, look at here. Look, that's nowhere near the start. We haven't even come out of turn 11 yet, but he's already starting. Oh, boy.
Randy says, well, if you're going to pull a stunt like that, goodbye.
Yep, Randy had enough of that. He goes, all right, we're going to play that game. I'm out of here. And there he is. He's back out of here. Ooh, over the curbing and into the dirt at over 100 miles an hour.
Peter Sachs kicked up the dirt there on that start, and there is the first turn. A good look there. Who's that out in front of
Well, that's somebody must have just come out of the pits. That just came out of the pits. It's a lap car. That's the 12 car. And that stacks everybody up a little bit. That actually didn't hurt Vardy's case a bit.
Got slowed the number 21 car just a bit. But there is the gap between first and second.
Popes has the legs right here. We see him stretching the lead a little bit through the S's and up here into turn 5. Both cars using the curb, so the effort is 100% right now by both drivers.
Now we checked with the pit lane and we're told that the 21 car did not change tires, so both 21 and 70 are using the same tires they began the race with. So we can see a lot of sliding around here in the waning moments of this one. Well, there's a look at the 81 car. That's Mike Fitzgerald leading in the sports class. He is now 5th overall. Let's go back to Calvin Fish in the pit lane.
Well, the battle in the sports division is really shaped up into a shootout between these two teammates. Mike Fitzgerald has the local track knowledge. He should have the advantage, having won here last year, but they're saying that Eric Tressler is a great driver. He's very young and he learns fast, so he's close behind Fitzgerald. Maybe he can learn the line, learn a few tricks, and be ready to make a move at the end of the race.
So this is for the lead right now.
Pass has been made.
At that, number 70 now has the lead. Kicks up some dirt off the corner, headed back toward turn 12 in the front straightaway.
Mazda very loose coming across that turn 11 right there. You saw the front wheels going back and forth, countering the slide from the rear. Vardy driving the car very hard now by Popes in the turn 1.
If the tires are equal, the factor should be the ponies that the 70 car would have over the 21 car.
Well, this particular case, the further it goes green, the better it is for Vardy, because Pope's car is going to put more heat in the tires, being a heavier car with the more power. You're right, it's going to be faster in the straightaway, but the longer it goes green, the nimbleness of that Mazda should show, and it should start to be able to stretch its legs. Look at Popes over the curb down there in the S's. Not a real, I don't think he intended that, because that could send you into a place that you never wanted to get.
But that can be a combination of two factors. One, the tires going away, and second, with the heat, the driver going away.
Yeah, and they're both driving real hard right now. You know, this restart is getting late in the race with less than a half hour to go. There's no time for fiddling around right now. You got to show what you have, and that's what they're both doing. As you can tell, both of them pulling now clear of the third place car by quite a lot.
Well, third place, Peter Sachs, once again running without power steering. Fourth is Joe Danaher. He's also leading, coming back from 36th starting position, leading in class, and fourth overall would be Mike Fitzgerald. Fifth is Eric Tressler. Sixth would be Eric Van Cleef, who was leading when he spun off course earlier. Dropped back to 8th position. He's back up to 6th.
Of course, Fitzgerald, Tressler, and twin-eye BMW cars that are leading 1 and 2 in the second class here. Tressler and I work together. Actually, he's an instructor at Skip Barber Racing School. So Eric is now thinking, why can't I just do what I teach?
Well, let me correct one thing. I said Eric Van Cleef was 6th. He's now 7th in the overall standings. 8th is Bill Pate in car 43, who is leading the touring class. And 23rd overall, leading in the compact, is now Steve Nowicki, who is 2 laps off the pace. But realistically, if we had not had so many yellows, those compact cars might be 3, 4, 5 laps back.
And 23rd overall is not bad for a compact class car. Like I said, they get paid not only in class, but also by the overall position. And it is, in fact, those yellows that have kept this bunched up for most of this day.
There is the gap between first and second. So now it just may be a case of who has protected his tires the best.
Vardy almost lost it on the entry there to turn 5. He got up on the curve, got sideways. You saw a good shot right down to the steering wheel as he went full opposite lock, full left to right. Good save, good quick hands by Vardy there.
That allowed Randy Popes to close in ever so slightly. There's the third place number 7 car going through your screen.
Of course, right in the middle of that.
Borcheller in 54.
Of course, the 13 car that we alluded to before, is being passed right now by the lead BMW, that of Fitzgerald. That's that battle that's going on in class and by teammates. They're still going at it quite hard. As you look at Tressler trying to make a move right there.
Borcheller trying to move up 54. Borcheller now up to 6th position. Remember that 13 car started in 36th position, and you get on a hot, humid afternoon, 2 of the, shall we say, more senior drivers out there at the age of 50 and 55.
Yeah, the old guys are doing
Now,
good.
you said that. I didn't say that. I said the more senior.
They're doing a great job today with their Pontiacs, too. I'll tell you that. That's the lead Pontiac in the whole group.
And there's a 63 car that just went through your screen. That is the car of the youngster, Tony Massari, the 18-year-old that spun off the course down there outside turn 12. He will be a freshman at Clemson this fall, majoring in the auto racing engineering program. All-state running back in high school, so now he's looking toward racing as a sporting career. There's your sports leader, Mike Fitzgerald, number 81 car that is now 6th overall, leading in class.
I'll tell you, if you're going to be a race car driver in today's world, you better take an engineering degree and go into something like that, because it takes that. Here's the lead right now. Joe Vardy stretching over, of course, Randy Popes.
And if you're going to start racing, you better start long before you're 18 years old. There is a battle for second. Look at that. Van Cleef, who who had the lead earlier, spun off course, dropped to 8th, and he's back up to 3rd, and he's reeling in Randy Popes. This is your battle for 2nd, and that battle looms right behind your leader. We could have a heck of a shootout here. Oh, man, you've got to love this kind of competition on a 2-hour and 45-minute timed event. There is the look to the inside.
Long straightaway. He's been drafting for over a quarter of a mile. He's got the pop. He's running to the inside. It's going to go deep into the brake zone. Ford to the left. Of course, Toyota to the right. Toyota should have the superior braking, and in fact does. He does make that pass at the end of the straightaway.
So Randy is overhauled. Randy Popes drops to 3rd, and now the 88 car of Eric Van Cleef sets sail for your leader. So Joe Vardy may have his hands full here in just a couple of laps at Road Atlanta. Well, it all comes down to a battle for the lead late in this race. The final 15 minutes or so, and 1, 2, 3 are on the screen together. Right there is Joe Vardy. And the 88 car is Eric Van Cleef. And then it's Randy Popes. 1, 2, 3 on the racetrack.
Van Cleef and Popes sliding, power sliding these two cars, the Toyota and the Ford there, and they're all over. And we've had a sliding accident right here, as a matter of fact, as we look out. See a replay here. This is outside. Yeah, outside of 11. Oh, he's going to hook across right in front of this other guy. Oh, that's not a... Whoa. That's a big pucker factor there. There's 3 of those cars, and that one almost was going to be about 2 right there. Woo, that was close.
Mazzicola in number 1 of the Grand Sports BMW sliding across the racetrack. Right now, your leaders are right together in the waning minutes of this one.
And lap traffic up in front of them. So look out, here comes a pop. There's a pop being made right now. That's Randy Popes looking the inside. Of course, that's a lap car that the other 2 have gotten around, so I miscalled that thing. That's 1, 2, 3. You're looking at Joe Vardy going up the hill. Eric Van Cleef. Oh, the Ford has stumbled. The Ford has stumbled. Randy Popes is off the pace. Here he is, a 21 car, something. He was halfway up turn 1, going up the hill, and the thing just balked on him. I don't know if that's fuel or what. He's back underway, up to speed now, but something just happened to Randy Popes. He's out of it.
11 minutes remaining in this event. So right now it comes down to that shootout between number 70 and number 88.
This car's back up to speed again. We're having a report from the pit crew that he has lost the brakes. Calvin Fish, can you tell us?
Well, that's what they think has happened. As he went through turn 1, he obviously had a problem getting in there, and then he was obviously lifting off early for the top of the hill there, where you do need to use the brakes again. So right now, they're very concerned. It's going to be really a question of hanging in there, keeping the car out there. Just a few minutes left in this one, but he's probably going to drop a few positions, guys.
Yeah, and Borcheller was on the fly. He's back there in 4th position, closing in on the 21 car. So right now we could have that 4th spot, or make it the 3rd spot being contested in the final 10 minutes or so of this timed event.
Well, that's what I talked about earlier, that at the end of this race, the brakes, if they're going to be a factor, they'll be a factor. And the first ones who succumb to the problem are the heavier cars. This Mustang Cobra, that one of the heaviest in the entire field. So Randy Popes now suffering with very little or no brakes.
Not exactly the racetrack you want to be on without brakes.
No, not at all, particularly when you get to this part where you got to go down this doggone hill.
There are your leaders. Now, once again, there's some traffic out in front of the leaders that they will catch on this lap. And right now, the only shot that Eric Van Cleef may have is in traffic.
Well, I speculate what happened with Randy Popes is that Eric Van Cleef and Randy ran so hard at one another to try to catch up with Joe Vardy that, in fact, that was what held up and what made the brakes go away. But look right now, oh, Vardy inside, split in 2 cars there. Holy cow.
He was sawing on that steering wheel. Now a lap car between 1st and 2nd, tucked in behind the 04 car. That's the Speakman entry.
Here comes Van Cleef.
Brothers.
Van Cleef, 2 wheels in the dirt on the outside of turn 5. Both these guys being ultra aggressive in this traffic, but they have to. We're almost out of time.
Well, certainly once the leader gets through, 2nd place has to take the risk to get through to stay close. So once again, just a couple of seconds now separating 1st and 2nd. We'll come back for the final laps here at Road Atlanta. The final 5 minutes of this 2-hour and 45-minute timed event for the Speedvision Cup cars here at Road Atlanta. There is your leader, Joe Vardy, with some traffic to negotiate, enjoying now about a 5-second margin. So what had been a very tight race has now opened up just a bit to give him just a little breathing room. Part of that was a slide that Eric Van Cleef took, a good save down in turn 1. And there's the gap back to 2nd position. Let's go back to Greg Creamer in the pit lane.
Just a quick update on the number 88 Toyota. They've developed a little problem with a notchy gearbox. Remember the missed shift that they had before that cost them the spin last lap, or 2 laps ago when they went through one. Same problem, went down 1 gear too many. They're just trying to hang on to the finish now.
Well, they may have to settle for second place because I really don't think that Eric has anything left for your leader. Joe Vardy, looking for his 24th victory in the stock division. Has about a 5.2 second margin right now over Eric Van Cleef. Into that 12th and final turn. Now down that short straightaway into turn 1. This is where he almost lost it about 3 laps ago on that downshift.
Yeah, he's so far back now as far as the lead goes that all he can do is, if he's having a car problem, is just get into a defensive posture and just ride it out. He's not under attack any longer from the rear, from Randy Popes. He had a huge moment going into turn 1 not too long ago. We have a replay of that. As you enter turn 1, you're doing about 120 miles an hour in these cars. And he had one of these scary moments. Watch it right here. Here comes the car. He's on the outside. Big slide, big save. Watch this. Car's headed off the racetrack. He brakes, gets straight, brakes, turns, gets off the brake. Really good driving right there to save that one.
And you really react with reflexes in a situation like that. The brain doesn't have time to think, this is what I need to do, and then do it. You just react.
Well, obviously, he'd been in trouble in a car like that before. He knew to straighten his hands out before he got on the brake. Had he not, he'd had the wheel turned, he'd have locked the front brakes and gone into the gravel trap. He didn't do that. Instead, he straightened his hands out, got the brake done, let off the brakes so that he could turn again, and returned a second time for the corner. So, obviously, he'd been in this situation once or twice before.
You learn from your mistakes, right? Almost 6 seconds back of first place. There's a look at the 81 car leading the sports class, Mike Fitzgerald. And we started to say that the second place car of Van Cleef now enjoying a 4-second margin over third place, Randy Popes. Fourth would be Terry Borchello.
You look at Mike Fitzgerald here, not only is winning his class, but he's also running 6th overall. So he's first in class 6th overall. It's a good payday coming at the end of this game.
Tremblay would take the lead in the Grand Sports division over Borchello. Milton would go third. There's the 43 car, Bill Pate, who's leading the touring class.
And right behind him, of course, is the 38 car, and that could be for position. That's Mark Hine and John Green. That could be, in fact, a race for position going on.
Right now, if they finish as they're running, Nonamaker and Bill Pate would be tied for the lead in the touring class, representing new leadership in that class. Steve Nowicki would continue to lead the compact class. And this is a 4 position in the final 3.5 minutes of this race. So there's good battle going right now in the touring class. The white flag will be displayed this time by for Joe Vardy. So Vardy, as he's at the top of the racetrack right now, a lot of elevation change here at Road Atlanta. Now he comes down the backside.
So our only race going on for a class win, of course, is the touring division, and those 2 cars are right nose to tail, Nonamaker, of course, and are paid, I should say, right now. And that's probably John Green in the other car as we watch Joe Vardy running off toward his last lap of competition today.
One class we had not talked about was the sports class, and Mike Culver and Eric Dresser will continue to lead in that class. Scott Hartman will go second with 57 markers, some 14 behind those that lead. Some that red clay being kicked up along the track.
Looking at timing here, I'm seeing that the 54 car, the second place car, is running lap times much faster than Joe Vardy right now in trying to get this lead back. But it is, of course, the last lap as you see the white flag for Joe Vardy.
So Vardy will be very careful now as he starts to negotiate some heavy traffic. And he has the luxury of about a 6.7 second margin over Eric Van Cleef. So he can take his time picking his way through traffic, because realize once he gets through, then Van Cleef has to get through that traffic. So right now that buffer will certainly play into his hand.
Down through the S's for the last time. Vardy goes, you know, just like you said, all he has to do now is not get mixed up with one of these slower cars. He's got enough of a lead now. All he has to do is just drive around home to the finish.
Cresting that little hill right there. And again, almost a 7-second margin between first and second enjoying a 3-second margin over third position. So no real battles in the Grand Sport division. Third is Randy Popes, fourth is Terry Borcheller, and the 7th position would be Peter Tonelli, driving the race without power steering.
You see the 07 guy waving over there to Joe Vardy. He says, okay, I see you're there. Pass me over here on the right. That's one of the most courteous things you can do. Let the overtaking driver know, hey, I know you're there. You know, let's make this work out real good. So Joe Vardy now on the straightaway for the final time, going for his win.
So once again, the final lap for Joe Vardy took over on the second pit stop for Sylvain Tremblay. Speed Source is an aftermarket Mazda outlet that Tremblay owns down through turn 12, looking for the checkered flag, and for the second time in 2 years, this team takes the victory here at Road Atlanta. They won this thing 2 years ago. As the crew applauding, as Joe Vardy takes the checkered flag, his 24th victory in the Speedvision Cup, the 4th for his team driver, Sylvain Tremblay. They qualified for the pole yesterday and led the first 24 laps before their first pit stop.
Of course, his race is over, but a lot of these other guys haven't. And here's one of them, 43 car now leading in class over the touring division, and there's lap traffic in front of them too. That is Pate in the 43, followed by John Green, I am assuming, in the 38. They are turning to turn 6 for their last time, on to 7 and on to the long straightaway. This is a class battle for touring division. So right here, it's going to set it up. If the 38 can get a good run off this corner and get in the draft, we might see a pass into that new braking zone in the new section of the racetrack.
Well, Bill Pate continues to lead in touring class at number 43. The only battle right now for position on the racetrack, about 5, 6, 7 car lengths back to Green. In that black car, does not look like he will be able to mount a challenge right here.
No, he's not quite tucked up enough to get much help from the draft. Looks like Pate has more straight line speed. We'll see what happens in the brake zone for the last time into the new chicane that they put in. No gain, no loss right there. I think this finish will be just about like they're looking like.
Once again through that new section of the racetrack, under the bridge, and down to turn 12, then across the start-finish line. Here comes the checkered flag for Bill Pate, so he will take the victory. Ooh, they do close it up right there. Pate has to hang on, and he does take the victory in the touring class.
He had a run going, didn't he?
Just about that far.
Well, that was as close as you want to get right there. That was a good run going.
So, Joe Vardy takes the victory overall after a 2-hour and 45-minute grind here at Road Atlanta. We'll take a break, come back, and talk to the winners. The Sports Car Grand Prix from Road Atlanta, featuring the Speedvision Cup, was brought to you by BMW, the ultimate driving machine, and presented by Toyo Tires. On the road or on the track, Toyo Praxis radios deliver quality second to none for uncompromised performance. Toyo Tires, driven to perform.
Welcome back to Road Atlanta, specifically to Victory Circle. A couple of very happy gentlemen. Joe Vardy brought the number 70 Speed Source Mazda into Victory Circle, and Sylvain Tremblay, the team owner, a little re-engineering and a great co-driver. What a great day.
Yeah, the circumstances were such that, you know, usually we had to change our game plan, but man, we took him out of mothballs, and he did the job for us again, just like 2 years ago. The crew did a great job. The car was just flawless, you know. BMW raised the game, and we're just right there with them. So thanks to David Haskell, Dynamic Shocks, and Mazda, we're here in Victory Circle with my old pal, Joe Vardy.
They're celebrating, guys.
So Vardy picks up his 24th career victory in Speedvision Cup competition, and the 4th for his teammate and team owner, Sylvain Tremblay. So once again, you take a look at the final results. Van Cleef and Conway there finishing second after a great battle with the number 21 car of Randy Popes as we continue through the rundown here this afternoon.
Well, the new Road Atlanta is no longer new, as we just saw a great Speedvision Cup race, and these guys are going home. First racers on this racetrack. Good job today.
We saw some great racing, had a lot of lengthy yellows, which allowed the guys to make their pit stops under yellow. That scrambled things just a bit, but some great racing late in the race. And the tires, not exactly a factor. The brakes weren't the factor we thought they might be.
But they did really good with the heat today. If they can stand up to what they did today, they can stand up to anything. This was a hot one.
Goes on from here. They go on to Mosport Park up in Canada, then Sebring, and wrap it all up as they return to Road Atlanta on October 3rd for a 3-hour event. So our congratulations to Joe Vardy. For Dorsey Schrader, Calvin Fish, and Greg Creamer, I'm Gary Lee. Thanks for joining us so long from Road Atlanta.